Welcome to the Explainer, 8th graders. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. All right, let's just dive right into this. I want you to imagine, just for a second, that you're a master architect, and sitting right in front of you is a completely blank page. But, it's not just a page, it's literally your newest construction site. Today, we're going to talk about the absolute most important tool in your entire tool belt, the blueprint. Because look, whether you're building a massive skyscraper downtown or, writing an essay for history class, if you don't have a solid foundation, the whole thing is going to come crashing down. So today, we're mastering the foundations of structured informational writing.
Here is our structural roadmap for today. First, the power of structure. Second, 3 steps to success. Third, examples in action. Then we'll check your knowledge, and finally, wrap things up with education, morality, and peace.
Section 1. The power of structure. Let's look at why this architectural structure actually matters.
Proverbs 10:14 tells us, "The wise lay up knowledge, but the mouth of a fool brings ruin near." Now, what does that actually mean for us? Well, when you gather facts, data, and research, you're gathering knowledge, right? That makes you wise. But if you just dump all that knowledge onto a piece of paper without any organization, without any structure, it's just chaotic noise. Good architectural structure in your writing is how you organize that wisdom so it actually makes an impact. It effortlessly guides your reader from point A to point B, making your arguments absolutely impossible to ignore.
And honestly, here is the absolute best news I can give you today. If you can master just one single paragraph, you possess the power to master massive essays, heavy research reports, and even 20-minute persuasive speeches. A well-structured paragraph is your primary building block. If you can lay down one perfect brick, you can build a wall. Of course, if you lay a bad foundation, you end up with something like the Leaning Tower of Pisa, which, hey, is a fun spot for tourist photos, but a pretty terrible design for a history essay, right? But if you can build a strong wall, you can build an entire castle. So the foundation of that single perfect brick is what we call the controlling idea. This is the main point or the thesis of your paragraph. Without a controlling idea, your reader's basically lost in the woods without a compass. The controlling idea tells your reader exactly what the destination is, right from the jump, which makes everything that follows incredibly easy to follow. Section 2, 3 steps to success. Let's break down the exact mechanics of this blueprint.
Okay, here is your 3-step blueprint. Step 1, start with the controlling idea in your very first sentence. This is you pouring the concrete foundation. Boom! The reader knows exactly what we're talking about. Step 2, add 2 to 3 pieces of supporting evidence that are directly related to that main point. If the controlling idea is the foundation, your evidence forms the sturdy walls holding the house up. You can't just have one piece of evidence, right? A one-walled house falls right over. You need 2 or 3 strong facts. And finally, step 3, conclude by restating the main point and reinforcing its importance. Think of this as putting the roof on your house. It seals the whole thing up, protects the ideas inside, and basically tells the reader, hey, look at this sturdy point we just built together.
Section 3, examples in action. Let's see how this exact blueprint works in the wild. So does this blueprint only work in English class? No way. This brilliantly illustrates the sheer power of our structure across totally different subjects. Look at the science row. Our foundation, the controlling idea, is that pollinators are essential for food. The walls, our support, our statistics, species examples, and a quote. The roof, the conclusion, restates why they matter. Now drop down to the history row. The foundation, the Civil Rights Act transformed society. The walls, legal changes and testimonies. The roof, reinforcing that long-term historical impact. And finally, technology. Foundation, AI is reshaping work. Walls, examples from healthcare and manufacturing. Roof, encouraging preparation for the future. You see? Different subjects, completely different ideas, exact same architectural blueprint. Master this, and you can write about literally anything in the world.
Section 4, check your knowledge. Time for a rapid-fire review to see if you remember what we just built. Question number 1. What is the first sentence in an informational paragraph called? Take a second, think about the foundation of our house. Got it? Yep, it's the controlling idea. It is the compass that guides the entire rest of your writing. Moving on. Question number 2. How many pieces of evidence should you aim for in a strong paragraph? Think about those walls we need to hold up the roof. You should always aim for 2 to 3 solid pieces of evidence. Like we said, one isn't enough to stand on its own. And actually, 4 or 5 might make the paragraph too heavy and crowded. 2 to 3 pieces of strong, direct evidence,
absolute perfection.
Question number 3. Why is a conclusion important? Remember that final step of our house building process? The conclusion is vital because it restates your main point and reinforces its importance. It acts as the protective roof of our blueprint, leaving the reader with a really clear, lasting impression of your argument.
Which brings us to your homework. I want you to take this blueprint out into the real world. Write your very own informational paragraph on a topic you know well. Maybe it's a sport, a video game, or a historical event you just love. Then grab a highlighter and identify your organizational pattern. Mark your controlling idea, underline your 2 to 3 pieces of evidence, and circle that conclusion. Prove to yourself that you are a master builder.
Section 5, Education, Morality, and Peace. Let's pivot to the higher purpose of our writing. We've talked a lot about the structure of your house, but what about the materials you're using to build it? Look at Proverbs 12:19. Truthful lips endure forever, but a lying tongue is but for a moment. You can build a house with the most beautiful blueprint in the world, perfectly structured paragraphs, massive vocabularies, but if you fill those paragraphs with lies, bad data, or stolen ideas, your house is basically made of sand. It's going to collapse. Truth is the only material that endures forever.
So here is your biblical morality tip for writing. Always seek truth and accuracy. Seriously, don't just settle for the first answer you find online. Double-check your facts. When you use someone else's brilliant idea, be honest and give credit to your sources. And most importantly, use your incredible new writing skills to inform the world in a way that uplifts and benefits others, rather than tearing them down. The core philosophy of the Godly Learners series is beautifully summed up in this one sentence. Education without morality will hurt. Just think about it. What is the point of being incredibly smart, of knowing how to write persuasive, perfectly structured essays, if you lack the morality to avoid making hurtful choices? A sharp mind without a kind, truthful heart? That's just a dangerous weapon. True education absolutely must intertwine with biblical morality. When we separate being smart from being good, it always leads to bad choices that end up hurting ourselves and the people around us. But Romans 8:6-7 promises profound peace of mind to everyone who keeps their mind spiritual. When you align your amazing intellect with a really strong moral compass, you don't just become a good student. You experience true, lasting peace in your life, and you bring that peace to your readers.
So, 8th graders, I leave you with this final, provocative thought. You now have the master blueprint. You know exactly how to structure an unbreakable paragraph. The only question left is this: will you use your words to build a house of truth that endures forever, or a house of cards that collapses in the wind? The blank page is waiting for you. Get out there and start building.